wake up, go to work 8 hours, come home, eat dinner, go to the gym, sleep, and wake up the next day and do it all over again. And I'm like, surely, like, this can't be life.
Welcome once again to another conversation, and today we have some friends here talking to us, and of course it's me and Raquel.
Hi, welcome. We introduce you to Marco and Keren are here with us. We're super excited to have them here in our home.
Hello, guys.
Hi, everyone. The camera's right there, silly.
No, but there's the one too.
We got cameras everywhere.
There's right here.
No, yeah. So guys, thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for spending some time with us. So we have a few questions, right? A few things that we wanted to talk over, and more than anything, you guys were telling us a little bit about your experience coming here, right? But before we jump into any of that, I don't know if you guys want to introduce yourself, tell us, what you do, what your hobbies are. I don't know. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Marco. I'm from Brazil. I'm 27 years old now. I have a daughter. I'm waiting for another one. So 2 girls, another girl right here. So
You're blessed with girls, that's it.
exactly, yeah. So I studied like a history. I'm a teacher, even if now I'm not working with that. But now I've been working with coffee for a while, something that I love, that's coffee. And it's been like 3 years since I started to work with coffee and learn about it. So it's been a fun journey, like being around that, something that I like. And yeah, I like
Coffee's good.
coffee is good, yeah.
Your hobbies, your interior design hobbies.
Oh yeah, there's also like the interior design stuff. Like I started like a year ago to study that. So it's been like a work in progress. But I've seen progress, so that's
You're
good.
always welcome to design here. You're free design.
Hi guys, my name is Keren. I currently work for JP Morgan Chase. I'm in their business specialist program. I've been there for about almost 3 years now. I would say that's probably not like what defines me though. So I don't know. I love a lot of things. I love to read. I love the outdoors. I'm huge on traveling. So, of course, like the past few months, having to be stuck at home was like awful for me. But we are actually taking a trip to Washington in a few weeks. And we'll head down to Portland, Oregon. So it'll be fun to do a little bit more traveling again. But yeah, that I would say that's a little bit about me.
Very cool. Very cool.
We like traveling too.
Oh, yeah, we just don't do it enough.
Yeah.
We have kids now.
Travel to Walmart.
We go to Walmart. Yeah, there you go. That's our fun time. No, but no, we did want to talk to you guys. We're excited to be talking to you guys. And there's something in particular, right? You guys came to Dallas. You guys are not from Dallas. You're, as you mentioned, you're from Brazil and you're from Washington, right?
Yeah.
And I know one of the experiences that you guys had as you guys got here to Dallas is, I guess the social part of it, right? Like not knowing anybody here when you guys first moved in. Do you guys want to tell us a little bit about that? How that was, how the first maybe weeks or months went, what you guys did to know people, to get out? Because I know you're pretty social.
Yeah.
I don't know how social you might be.
Yeah.
I would say for me, I underestimated that process, because you're right, I am pretty social. It's not hard for me to make friends, or I would say it's maybe hard to make deeper relationships, but it's not hard to have that like social life or talk to somebody. I can have a conversation with anybody for hours. But I think I would say the first few weeks are always really exciting. It's different. It's you have that motivation. You're like, okay, like I'm here for a goal. So the first few weeks or few months, it's scary, but I don't think it's sad or it doesn't settle yet. I think it's after that like initial first few months of like that like push and things begin to settle, and like there's that routine starts to happen where you kind of know the people. Like it's just a routine. Like when I think what was hard about Dallas was when it became like that routine that I was like, oh, this routine is kind of boring. Like I just wake up, go to work 8 hours, come home, eat dinner, go to
Do it
the
all
gym,
over.
sleep, and wake up the next day and do it all over again. And I'm like, surely like this can't be life. And so I think that was what got the hard part. And you're right, like having to kind of go and make friends, but you may be going through something, so you can't like meet somebody and be like, hey, like this is what I'm, you have to build, like even relationships take time to build. So
They're really important, right? Like for the, for you as a person, like to make you feel good, to make you feel
Sure.
better, complete, I guess you can kind of say.
yeah, and I think maybe some people, like we're probably a little bit opposite in that where he probably can do okay by
As
himself.
long as he has his coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
He always tells me like, I just need you and my daughters, and like I'm good. And I'm like,
Oh,
well,
that's awesome.
sorry, I need more than just I love you,
I'm
but
not enough.
But you know
I
what?
promise I'm not enough.
That's how me and Edet are. He's very social, and
I
I'm
am
more
very
of
social.
me and my cup of tea and coffee, and I'm good. And sometimes the kids.
But-
like just me and the family, I'm good. I am social. Like once you get me talking and stuff, I'll be able to carry a conversation with
Sure.
you. But I'm okay being okay without
Being
people.
unsocial.
Unsocial.
Yeah, I think for me it's like that was my first time like I'm moving like out. Like I was born like my hometown. Like I live in the same house, same street, my whole life.
Oh, wow.
So
So
and
it was a big change.
yeah, it was a big change. And when I came, like I wasn't expecting to stay here for that long. Yeah, I was about to just stay for like a few months, but then like things have changed, and I had to stay.
You met Karen.
basically.
And since then, like it's been like, I think while like I was working in the first coffee shop that I've worked, I had like a lot of support because like people are really friendly with me, and like I had some of like I met some good friends, and but it's not the same. And I'm the kind of person who like I don't have a lot of friends, and I don't really mind to have a lot of friends. And like I don't talk a lot. Like if I don't know you, I probably not gonna talk a lot. I probably gonna be more like a quiet. But I do appreciate people. I do appreciate talk to people. It's just like I'm more kind of like a shy and like a quiet. But like if I know like or like for my people, like my family, like I'm really really friendly, and it's different like to don't have like that community around you, like your family.
Let me
And
ask you, are you close to your family?
sure, yeah. I think like I would say it's a big family. I only have one sibling, like an old sister, but I have a lot cousins.
Okay.
So and we are like really really like a close everyone. And I think of like a group on WhatsApp and like meetings on Sundays and like birthdays. Like I always have something. If you can make something huge, that's okay. But at least everyone is together. Like a little cake and all of that. So, and my hometown is kind of like 150,000 people, so it's not a huge town.
Okay.
So
Half of it is your family.
yeah, but yeah, like in school, like in school, everyone is like, "Oh, you know that guy?" And I will go like, "Yeah, it's my cousin." I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
everyone is your
funny.
cousin.
Everybody, are you sure you're not Mexican?
But yeah, like it's pretty much like that my whole life. Everyone like, you know that guy? Yeah, my cousin. Bro, everyone is your cousin. Yeah, that's true. That's how it is.
One of the things that you mentioned that you talked about is having a deeper relationship, right? Not just because you can talk to people anywhere, right? Mm-hmm. But I think as a person, we crave that deeper relationship, that connection with someone, right?
Yeah.
How did you find that, or you didn't get that until you met Marco? Like how did you guys cope with that?
I think I've always been a person who values like that deeper connection with people, but I think that not everybody has the ability to want to see someone for like who they really are and kind of accept all of that. I think sometimes like some people you meet, they like you for what you can give to them and how you fit into their, I don't know how to explain it, but I just think that maybe our generation or like in our age, people just seek after other things, maybe more superficial or superficial. Kind of like what we were talking about yesterday, like the women seek men who can give them that stability or things like that. And I think one of the things that I appreciated about Marco and why we connected so well was because we had a deeper connection, I think, pretty quick. Like our conversations were deep, and it wasn't just like, you know, like having fun and going out and like to the movies, and we had those moments, but we also, like, I think we're like a safe place for you can share with me your struggles, and like it's safe here, and I'm not gonna judge you for that, or I'm not gonna like turn my back. And I think like sometimes some people are afraid of their story, or afraid of their life, or their fears, or who they are. And I think not everybody is the type of personality or heart who can see someone for who they really are. I don't know if that makes sense, but
it does. Was that kind of the same for you?
Yeah, I think like Karen and I, like, I think for me in general, like, if like we can have like any kind of like something a little bit more deep than like the most superficial, like it's gonna be harder for you and I to connect, because like I don't know, like, and like even Karen sometimes we go like, oh, you don't talk too much. But yeah, if I don't think I have anything to say, just don't talk. You know, it's kind of like if you like
What
if
do you
you're
want
not,
me to say?
yeah, like if we're not gonna, like, you know, like if like for us to be friends, it's just gonna be something so like superficial. Okay, maybe better not just be friends, and you know, like that kind of thing. So I really like when I look at like to relationships, I look what, not like in a bad way, like what I'm getting from that, but kind of like I'm 100% sure that like if like you're my friend, I will have something to give to you because I'm that kind of person. So in a certain way, not that I expect something back, but I have to feel that. It's like, you know, like a two. It's a two ways. You know, like I have to give, and I feel that you have something to give to me, and then we can build something from that. Yeah, that's kind of like how I see that, you know, of like a relationship.
I think I also like moved around so much, like my early 20s, like when I was 18, I moved 2 hours away from home for my first year in college. Then I moved all the way to Oklahoma for 3 years, and then I moved to Washington, and then I moved to LA for a year, and then I moved to Texas. So I think I never stayed in a place long enough to build good friendship. You know, it was like I would meet people, and right when you start to establish that friendship, I would move to a new place, and then we would become Instagram friends. You know, it's like we follow each other
Social
and see
media
each
friends.
other through the highlights of each other's lives versus like the deeper things. So I think in part, I also, and then I grew up in California for my first 10 years, and then Washington. So I think
California.
yeah. I think I just had a lot of change and so quick, and I think that's why when it comes to people, like, or now, that's probably the most important, I would say the most important thing to me is like connections and people. And I think I crave that so much because I spent 5 years kind of running from that. And I think he is kind of the type of person who, like you, like, I don't know, I can talk to, and you can ask me about a dumb subject, and I can talk about that for hours with you and make it a good time. And he is the more type of person who, like, if he's not interested in that, he won't talk. You know, not in
what I had to say.
not in a bad way, but which I
That's
think
why
is
he
good.
was so quiet. In
Yeah, if he doesn't answer your what you said is not good enough for him.
Got it. Well,
Not that what I say is, I'm just a good listener. I'm me ignoring you. I'm just a good listener.
yeah, she does say that. No, I
did too, I was
think
like-
one of the very important things that you just touched on, that you guys touch on, and this is why in particular I find you guys so interesting, in a good way, because I was reading, and I kind of mentioned a little bit about this to you earlier, Karen, that I was reading a little bit about how our generation is now, like the millennial generation, with relationships. You know, it seems to be a generation that struggles more building relationships. It seems to be a generation that spends a lot more time on the phone, you know, than building relationships, right? It spends more time on social media. And not just that, like it's like we're so used to instant gratification, I guess, in a way. Like, because before, I remember to go out, I don't know if this happened to you guys or not, but to go out, if you saw a girl that you like, you kind of look at her and then you kind of make your way. I remember my excuse to grab Rachel's hand before is that I was helping her take her nail polish off. And then you're like trying to get close and trying to talk
I
to
didn't
her.
even want my nail polish removed, but he was removing it.
Yeah, you're ruining my nails.
What are you doing? I don't even know you. Why are you touching my hand? No, but I think like that was I don't want to say a struggle, but that was fun.
You couldn't just send her a message,
No, you had to create a
You had to wait for the next Sunday when you saw her, or
figure out how to impress her, and all this stuff. And I was like, you swipe right. Oh, I'm a stud now.
Right? Yeah.
And so it's like it's way different now. It's way different.
I still have he used to send me little notepad, what's he send notepad letters with little drawings of me and him in a car, or and he was trying to get me to like him, but we were friends.
Right.
But yeah, I think with you guys, I feel, you guys are on social media, I think. Well, you definitely are. I think as well. I don't know how much social media runs y'all's life, or if it's more of you're able to just kind of turn it off and you would rather be in a person-to-person relationship conversation, because what you see a lot of nowadays is I think there was a talk that I saw where it said if you are talking to somebody, if you're having dinner with somebody and you're on the phone texting somebody who's not there with you, it said it in pretty harsh words, but basically saying you're not a good person. You're not a good companionship. And you think about it and it's like, God, man, how many times have I done that? Where I'm we're at dinner or something, and my excuse is I'm doing business. I'm booking a shoot. I'm doing this. I'm doing that.
I call him on it too.
Yeah, she's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm booking.
Yeah.
And it's but you gotta be able to turn it off, right? At a certain time, it's like, okay, I'm not booking now. I'm gonna put my phone away and stop doing that. But it seems like you guys are, again, that got my attention, especially that you guys are so social, that you're looking for a deeper relationship. You just mentioned about your tattoo, and I don't know if you want to kind of explain a little bit what it means again, because I was like, oh wow, that's pretty deep. That's pretty awesome that you think that way, But
yeah. Okay, so since you just usually when I was younger, I have this tattoo since I was 18. Was my first one, and I'm 27. It's been 9 years.
10 years ago.
And for several years, I didn't like to explain to people. People would ask everyone has their own things to tattoo.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. And as much as I talk about it, I lose the meaning for myself, because I'm trying to make you understand, and I then lose the meaning for myself.
Oh, I got you.
And then my vision was 100% mine. Now I have to share.
No,
but no, I think that's okay.
Could be on social media. He could just say, "Watch the YouTube video. You'll see it there."
One time.
So no, but tattoo says amplitude. It's kind of in English would be amplified, or that would be the meaning would be an idea of an open mind, of open point of view, that we not just me, we can always understand each other, and we can always see others' point of view, and remember that our mind is so big that we cannot just be stuck in our own point of view, because we weren't born with our personality. Everything is built by time. So whatever we believe now, it's because somebody told us, because we learned that. But we have to be open for other people. Have to be open for other cultures, other ideas.
Yeah.
If you're fighting for a spouse, for a partner, you have to understand I think this, but the other has the right to think different than me, and we both have to respect each other. So the tattoo is not just even for me, but for everyone. Kind of that idea. If everyone think like that, I think we can find more peace and more agreement.
Yeah.
So that's the idea of the tattoo for me.
Well, I think if we once you have conversation, you find out that you eventually find a common place, right? Something in common. Where, for example, I'll give you an idea. I know, and I don't want to get political here, so we won't go there. But I'm just gonna use it as an example real quick. You have the side that, for example, as soon as there's, for example, a school shooting, right? they run to ban guns, right? And then you have the other side that's like, no, we need more guns. You know, we need security guard with guns to defend people who come and shoot. And then we vilify, like, because we don't want to listen to opposite point of views. We vilify the other side and say, oh, they want dead children. I don't think anybody wants dead children in this country. We're just coming with two different approaches, two different solutions. And I think what you just said is very important, because if we don't open our mind and we actually listen to other people, learning from other people is one of the best things you can do.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean? And I love when you were explaining to me. So sorry, I'm making you explain it twice.
No, like that's fine. I think that was kind of like, maybe I needed like that time just to, you know, like, but like I think I'm over that.
But Rachel's right now. Now you can just point. Look at this video. Skip 2 minutes.
More followers.
Like be like skip 2 minutes 6 on this video.
You'll know.
You'll know.
Right.
But yeah, but no, it's really cool.
It's interesting too what you said about, like, you know, when you're for example, having dinner with somebody, you're texting someone else, and then when you're having dinner with that person, you're texting the person you were having dinner. You know, it's like to me it just seems crazy. Like even like one thing that since I was younger, or when I started traveling a lot, one of the things that I always remembered was like, don't get so caught up in like trying to prove to someone else that you're on this trip. Like, be on this trip, you know. And there are so many
that's a really good
places that I went to that like I would kind of force myself, like, I really want to take a picture and I really want to make a video, but I'm going to kind of force myself not to, so that I can relive this and it can be my memory. And because what's the point of impressing someone else, like, oh, look where I went, or look where I was at, you know. And I think that's just a culture we live in today. Like, social media is so powerful today, and it wasn't like that when we were younger, and it wasn't like that for our parents. And people are just so quick to show to others what is going on in their world. And so I think
forget to actually enjoy it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I used to, not to say I never went through that phase. I think that's why I started to kind of have more of that within myself. Yeah. Where I feel like I would think like, okay, you were in this trip and like the whole day, or I think I when I went to Iceland, like there was a day where I was so like, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even sit there and look at the waterfall and like breathe and like admire it, you know. And now I have these pictures that I could just Google and like, why did I pay to come to Iceland if I was just gonna be more concerned over what I video?
Just Google the pictures.
Literally, I could have saved a lot of money. No, but so I think it's the same with people.
Yeah.
I think when you're with them, like honor their time, and also like have that moment where like. Just to me, it's just funny when like I'm texting one friend, and then when I'm hanging out with that friend, I'm texting the other friend that I was just hanging out with, and texting this person, and it's just like, you know, it is a world we live in, unfortunately.
I like that. I like how you said that, like the way waterfall and everything.
Why are you looking at my phone?
Because you're always on it.
No, I think it is very important, and I think one of the things that I heard, and you can tell me what you think about it and what your opinion is that when you're on your phone getting that text message, getting that like on Instagram, on Facebook, now because we look so much to be accepted, right, and for so much credibility or, you know, likes from other people, our brain releases a shot of dopamine, right? And it's just like with the alcoholic when they crave that alcohol. Sounds weird to say it, but you kind of become an addict to your phone, to getting a text message, and the reason why it goes back to the same thing, because we desire so much to be connected, to have a companionship, to have a relationship. In one of the classes that we saw, I don't know if you remember, we were looking at the Bible, right, at the beginning, where it says that God created us in His image, right? And one of the aspects of God is that He's a triune God, right? He's a three-part God, right? God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so what that means is that God has always been a God of relationship. You know, He's always have that desire to have a relationship, first with Himself, you know, through those three entities, if that's what you can call them. And so when we were made, we crave that relationship as well, you know, having a connection with someone. That's just part of being created in His image as well. Human. And I think a lot of times we don't realize all you got to do is get off your phone, talk to people, you know, create deeper relationships, deeper friendships, and you know you'll get it there. But instead we're like texting everybody, posting pictures, like trying to add new friends and trying to do all this stuff to be accepted, when again you just got to get off of it. And something very interesting, he said, it goes even to the point where we're in the morning, and I've done this many times. He's like, you can tell if you have a problem with your phone if in the morning you wake up and you check your phone before you say good morning to your husband or wife. And I was like, oh snap. I was like, oh snap. You do it too, whatever.
I don't do it. I honestly don't. I forget to charge my phone because I left it in the kitchen, or he gets mad because it's out of charge because I forgot to charge it, or because I leave it everywhere, or we leave someone's house and then we have to drive all the way back because I forgot my phone. I leave it everywhere.
I think one conversation I had that always stuck to me was, don't be that. They said like, don't be that resume friend, and I was like, okay, what does that mean? And essentially, it's kind of like when you go to a job and you have a resume of like all the good qualities that you have. And then you get hired, and all of a sudden, how fantastic you were at this, or how on time you were, or how, it's not there anymore because it was just like that presentation that you were giving to try to get that. And it's, I think, the same with friendships that, you have those people that are like, I'm going to be there for you, and call me at 2 a.m. if you need anything. And then you call them at 2 a.m. and they're not there. Or, you're like, hey, like, I'm stuck in the middle of the road. I've lost a tire. And they're like, oh, well, good luck. We're going to pray that, everything. And I'm like, no, I need you to come help me. Like, I need you to be the you are my answer prayer.
You are the prayer. I already prayed.
I think that's been kind of like one of the harder things of the transition of in Dallas, is that you meet people and people automatically like they want to be there and they overpromise, like, oh, well, I don't know if that makes sense, but I think I've always been kind of opposite. Like I like to believe that I'm true to my word, and like that I am that friend that, like, even if it's an inconvenience to me, I'll show up because I said I would and because I want to be that. But I think a lot of people, for new people, they meet them and they're like, well, we're going to be here for you guys, and like, whatever. And then you never hear from them and you never, and it's like that kind of like, and you're not going to be like, hey, like, can we come over? Like, so I think that's kind of like another thing too, is like to be a friend, like don't overpromise on something you can't deliver. And I think then that's fine. Like, if you can't be the friend who can't pick up at 3 a.m, then don't say that you're the friend that don't say you're going to be that, and that's okay. Like, so I think that's something that I've
realistic expectations,
right? That I try to practice in myself. It's like, to, when someone needs me, to actually deliver what I would want for myself. So
for sure, man, that is very interesting what you said about the resume friendship, and I'm gonna share a story real quick. When my brother-in-law, which is Rachel's brother, he used to ask me for advice a lot, right? To help him with jobs and things like that. And I told him, dude, fake it till you make it, man. Like, you first tell him yes. Like, I've done that. Like, yes, I can do this, and then once I have the job,
I can travel.
You're gonna come in and record this. Then I go and Google, like, how do I do this, right? So I tell him, dude, just tell him. And then he was going for a warehouse job, right? And then
a forklift.
He goes, but I don't know. What if they ask me how to drive a forklift? I just tell them you do. You know how to. He's like, what if they tell me to go ahead and drive one? And then I'm like, just make up and tell him, oh, it's because I don't drive those. I'm used to driving the ones with chain. I don't know, just with the chain. I don't even know what that means. But he does. He goes in there and they tell him to drive a forklift. And they're like, can you drive a forklift? Yeah, I can. Okay, show us. Oh, but I'm used to the ones that have chain instead. He does exactly that. He's like, they, I guess, assume it was like some fancy I don't know what they thought. I have no idea what they thought. They gave him the job. And then, of course, when he got in there, he couldn't drive it. And I was like, dude, because you're missing the point. The point is you're supposed to go back and learn how to do it. Not just like, But
he learned. He ended up learning.
He did learn.
He knocked a couple of things down, but he learned it.
That's funny. No, but you're very right on that. Like, setting up. And I think I do that a lot, over promising. I try not to. But I'm always, like, I look at my time, I was like, okay, if I get there at 5, like I told you guys, for example, today, I was like, I'm gonna be at work. Then after work, I have to go to Rowlett, and then I'll make it in time back. We'll find by 7. I would have never made it out at 7. I'm glad Rachel,
got her hair done.
Rachel got her hair done because she went instead of me. Pero I think, like, maybe we don't mean to, because I do, like, it depends on what it is. And
you don't count with traffic. That's your problem.
And not just that, I don't count with the fact that I'm a Mexican, so I run late.
But I think that kind of is opposite, because I think in your end, like, you genuinely want to be there, and like I think that, but there are some people that well, I think my thing was more like the people that
De palabra.
say and like that's not really their heart. That their heart really isn't to build that friendship or relationship.
Yeah.
And then there's those like I would say I'm kind of like you where I overpromise and I'm like yes, 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 and I say yes to everyone. I'm like, hey, by the way, we have these 5 people we're gonna go see this week, and he's like, what? You haven't even talked to me? And I'm like, I know I can say no. Like, so I think in a way too, it's like. I think our personalities are very similar and very like people oriented, and so we want to say yes to everything. And
we like to please. But yeah, I will bend myself backwards to try to keep it, keep my promise. And even though like Rachel has told me before, like, why are you rushing? They're not gonna be there early. I was like, I don't care if we start late. I don't want it to be because of me, or whatever. But I think I'm guilty of that, and I think that's a very true statement. Like being realistic is much better than overpromising, and I hadn't thought about that.
But also like some point that is like just because you say promise, I don't think that we're talking about that, but it's about expectations and like how it's good for us like to leave like expectations aside, because like when you don't create expectations, doesn't matter if the bad or but like whatever happened, you're fine. If it's like bad, okay, now you have to deal with that. If it's good, then you're happy. But when you're having expectations and the things don't go like the way you expect, so then you got sad, you got frustrated and all of that. So I always try to like, doesn't matter if that person like I promised this and that, I just kind of don't believe. It's like, like, okay, like I pretend like but like not just about relationship with people, but I think in general, like in life, like maybe having an opportunity to get a job and like it's 50-50, I'm not sure yet. You better like don't think too much, like, and like think, oh, I already have that job, and maybe like they hired the other person, and then like,
I think it's like the way we were raised though is so opposite. Like we were raised to like expect all the good things, like expect you'll have a job or kind of like declare that or believe it or accept it. And so I think it's kind of like the way that you're so like, I guess in my...
Is that like an entitled point of view?
Not entitled, but I think it's like kind of like expect good things. And I think like, but I think that's why we're more prone, or at least me, I say my people, like if we're people or a group, like if there's some of us who just go hard,
my group,
go deep.
Which is me, Marco, and
No, because I think me and him think very differently. Like we have, like I'll be like, well, I expect this, and he's like, well, you shouldn't expect. But I think it's good. But I like right.
He balances you.
So
no matter
I'll
what.
be honest with you.
He brings you down from your
like,
little cloud.
He lets me believe what I want, and then he's like, okay, but like this.
But when you fail,
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. No, but you know what? So this makes it even more interesting because your mentality, like your perspective, is not at all what according to research, right?
Millennials.
What it is for millennials, yeah, it's not at all. You know what I mean?
I'm a different breed.
And then you're kind of halfway there, kind of half and half. Because here's why: according to polls or research, millennials have a very, very pessimistic view of the future. You know what I mean? And then once you start looking into all of that, it eventually leads to a lot of millennials supporting socialism because they want a whole different type of system, something else, because they feel like this isn't working for them. And another thing, millennials, the majority of them are not happy with their jobs. Like they feel like they don't have a fulfilling job. And the reason why is because, according to this research, they don't find meaning in their job because they're not doing enough, to help somebody or to for the world or for society or anything. Like they don't find it. And I think part of that is because of what we were talking about a minute ago. The what do you call it? What did I say when you're expecting something quick?
Instant gratification.
The instant gratification part, right? Like we want to get into a job and immediately make a difference. Like I was listening to a CEO saying, like that was talking to one of the employees. It wasn't a CEO, I'm sorry. It was a director at my current company. He was talking about branding yourself. Like how are you branding yourself? When somebody sees you walking down the hallways or wherever you are, how do they see you? Like why do they think of you? Like that's something you got to think about. And then there was like one of his employees was supposedly, he was pretty down. He was like, what's wrong? I was like, I don't know. I'm just not liking it. I don't feel good here. Well, why? He's like, I just don't feel like I'm making a difference. And the guy's like, you've been here 2 months. You haven't even finished learning everything. And, you know, it's a patience thing. You have to learn the skills. To learn the skills, to make a difference, it takes time. You have to put in your time. Just like with our relationship, right? It's the same. But again, I don't know what you guys think of that research for millennials, you know. Again, I see you talking about your job very passionately. Sounds like you love your job as well. Sounds like you have a very optimistic point of view of the future. Sounds like you have a very not pessimistic. I don't want to say that. But, you know, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't fit the...
I think you're kind of a realist, no?
Yeah, I wouldn't say... I think I'm actually, like, optimistic.
You're
like,
pretty optimistic.
Yeah, like, I think it's just more about, like... Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I actually... I think my point is more like, accept your life. Doesn't matter what happened. It's like, it is how it should be. So, and a lot of bad things happen because maybe you have to learn something from that.
Yeah.
You know, so just be thankful, doesn't matter what.
Yeah.
And like, so you're talking about jobs and like a meaning for jobs. And maybe with that point, I would maybe like relate myself a little bit more, but not because like I'm not happy with my job, especially because I'm doing something that I actually like. Okay, maybe I could be making more money, but that's not what we're talking about. But the thing is, I actually think our world and like even all of you are talking about like how like we spend like time in our phones and social media instead of spending time with people like around us and all of that. So I think this time we're living, it is kind of weird. I think in way different than ever was before. And in certain ways, I would say I would like to live in a different time. Maybe without this much technology, you know, because like I see myself doing things that I don't want to do, like waking up 5 o'clock, 5:30 and grabbing my phone. And there's nothing to see in my phone, but I'm so used to that, you know. And I know it's not a good
he works
habit.
at 6 a.m. That's why he's up at 5:30.
and sometimes, like, okay, I'm not gonna do that because like I can see and like, you know. Like, but sometimes you don't have that click before you do, so then you go, you do.
It's a habit.
You know, so I think maybe like when you're talking about generation, about like a millions of people around the world, like I kind of feeling the same way. I think maybe because these times are just kind of we're like maybe the meaning is not just in the jobs, but like maybe life itself kind of like not lost. I don't think life is never gonna like the meaning is gonna always be the same, but harder to see the meaning in life or things like that, you know, or like having more deep conversation like we're having right now. How many people are like having this kind of conversations today, or even talking to their parents in a dinner. They're like having dinner, like watching a movie, or like in their room playing video games, and they're not spending time together. So I think maybe like, or like the frustration you have at home, you take to your job and you think it's your job, but actually something else, and or maybe a lot of things, you know, that's going on at the same time: personal life, professional life, relationship, family, everything together. So
and I honestly think that's why anxiety, depression, and all these, you know, sickness rise because of that. Because people were so focused on their job only and then home. That's it. Work, home.
And as a matter of fact, now you mentioned that, the same research was showing that. Me with my research. Same research was showing that for millennials, the rate of depression is 20% higher than Gen X or other generations, you know, coming behind us.
So I'm hoping and I'm praying that hopefully this pandemic kind of brought the family back together, brought the, you know, this back together, communication, and broke whatever, like on corporates, como like y'all say, that they were only focused on like roboting people because that's what they wanted. You know, they wanted just people to be like robots. Okay, you have no other life but to work for us.
That's funny because like our friend, like who runs the coffee shop, remember, like he was talking about someone, and he used the word robot to talk about how that guy was good for his position. You remember that?
It's so precise.
Yeah, and like it was like like I know, like if you're talking about like a customer service and maybe some other things, like he's not the best, but he does exactly what I want. And that
So
thing. So like that's the best for him.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a crazy to
It's
hear
sad.
some.
And I
Yeah.
think what you touched on, instant gratification, it's so true. Like, I think, like, maybe for me, and this is something that I was actually talking to Pastora Nancy about, and she was saying, like, there's a lot of consistency in my life. Like, I can be consistent in school, in my job, in my career. But one thing has been inconsistent in my life has been relationships, like just people, because of, I think, how much I've moved or blah blah blah. And I think that when you say instant gratification, everybody has a different subject that they may. For example, some people hop around in a job, they're never happy with their job, and they don't stick around long enough to get that raise or stick long enough to learn. They get the job, they're intimidated by the training, they don't feel good enough, and they leave, and they left before they were actually able to develop that good position. And I'm not like that. I can stick in my job and puff and huff, but I'll get it through when others can't. But for me, I think maybe what he was saying about expectation is I go hard in relationships, and if I'm not getting what I expect a relationship should look like at the very beginning of it, my idea is, okay, peace out. And he's not like that. He's really patient and like understanding, and like kind of like just, well, don't expect that. Like, if you don't have expectations, then you can't get let down in that.
Yeah.
So I think that instant gratification can be in so many different things. Like, to some, it could be in their career. To some, it could be with results in this. For some, it can be finances. To some, it can be relationships. And I think that's one of the cool things that marriage has taught me, maybe the hard way, or maybe relationships in general. But it's like, there's no out. Like, there's you have to stick it through, and you have to grow. And for me, like, that's like, like, it's an uncomfortable, it's a muscle I don't use enough. Because
so
I think
you're definitely taken out of your comfort zone by,
Yeah, and so I think when relationships were with people, when like maybe I feel like I was let down, I get hurt, and I just like, well, maybe you're not the friend for me, bye. And not to that like crazy extent, but I think like, whereas maybe for him, he has a different expectation of relationships versus what I would have, and then in his career, he has different expectations than what I would have, and and I think everyone's like that, like everyone has their unique struggle or whatever.
And that's very important to understand. I think there's a test, I forget what it's called, like the affection test. I don't know what they call it, but it tells you how your partner likes to feel.
The five love languages.
Yes, that, right? Like there's different, like there's some people that like affection, words of affirmation. They like materialistic presence. There's people who like, I mean, there's different ways, right?
Time,
the touch.
Have y'all taken the test?
We read the book.
Yeah, we're reading.
We are reading.
Yeah, I think we stopped before
we stopped. Yeah, but
and I think it's a good point to know how your significant other likes to be appreciated, right? Because you might be doing everything in your power to make him feel good, but you're doing what you like and not necessarily what he likes. And then another thing, and this is something that I don't know how many times I've repeated, man, since we got it from my sister. We were in a class, and I asked everybody to give us, the best advice they've ever gotten, from somebody else in marriage, right? And my sister-in-law said this, and it like hit me like big time. I was like, it's so true. But she said, understand that in marriage, it's never going to be, or not that it's never going to be, but a lot of times it's not going to be 50-50. There's going to be times where Marco's going to have a bad day, and you're going to be pulling 70% of the weight. He's going to be pulling 30. There's times where you're having a bad day, and he's going to be pulling 80 or 70 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be prepared to understand that it's not always 50-50. And that's one of the things that we kind of, like when she said that, I don't know why I hadn't thought about that, but something clicked, and I was like, that is true. Yeah. I'm always pulling more. No, I'm kidding.
That makes sense.
No, but it is true. There's days, like just today, I came out of work, and tomorrow's going to be a short day for me. So I was rushing through things, trying to get everything done, so I'm not rushing tomorrow. And I came out with a headache, and I wasn't feeling good. And then Rachel's calling me, and I was like, I'm answering her with an attitude. It's like, what's wrong with you? Yeah,
I was not happy. I just got out of pastor's house and talking to Nancy makes you happy.
I ruined her day.
No, he didn't. But I was all happy to talk to him, and he's all like grumpy, and I'm like, what's wrong with you?
How many times has that happened?
You're interrupting my podcast. What happened? What you need?
That's exactly how you would answer.
That's him. I'm like, I call him, and he's like, he's laughing because it's so true. I'm like,
y'all are so ugly.
Yeah, he's like driving to work, and I know it's like his time to like be away from me. Like, it's quiet time and I just want to call. I just want to talk to you. And he's like, okay, well, you can tell they want to get off the phone. And I'm like, geez.
No, but
Bye.
It's
One
just
thing too from your love language point I always remembered was it's like we speak different languages, but I can tell him how much I care and love him in Spanish, and he's never gonna get it. And I can be saying these beautiful words and things, but unless I speak in his language, he's never gonna get it. And I think it's the same in like the learning your spouses, your friends, like the way that they receive love, like not give it to them the way that they receive it, not the way that you receive it, because they're never gonna feel it's enough, and you're gonna be like, what am I doing wrong? But it's like if I spoke to him in a different language, and I could be saying literally beautiful and all these things, but he just doesn't get it because he doesn't know that language. To him, that's not a translation. So I think it's the same with the 5 love languages. Like, okay, what's the point if I buy him all of these things if his love language is time, and I don't spend any time with him, But
no, that is very true. That is so true. But man, I think we're in a world where going back to your point, where if you don't have an open mind, then you're never gonna find that perfect relationship, right? Because you have to be willing to learn, to observe, right, and to see people's expectations of you and explain what your expectations are. But if you're not willing to do that, then you're not going to go anywhere. I think one of my favorite psychologists, clinical psychologists, says the amount of truth that you're willing to... No, what does he say? I'm trying not to butcher what he says.
You probably don't.
How much
it's
truth...
probably up there in one of those books.
It is actually one of them. No, but the what does it say? A person's worth is determined by how much truth they can handle, right? And it becomes true when so, and it's happened to me a lot of times, right? When I think I know about this, and all of a sudden somebody's telling me, no, I'm wrong, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, what do you mean? And it could be about anything.
He'll try to stand like his position.
No, but this is why I like having conversations, because I tell people, look, at the very minimum, even if I'm not making you change your mind, or you're not making me change my mind, you're at least making me think about, okay, I need to go do more research on this topic. I need to look more into that. And yeah, like there's truths that we don't like hearing. There's our reality changes, right? Like there's a whole thing right now going on with postmodernism that says, about objective and subjective truth, right? Like everybody has their own perception of things. And so that's your truth. The way you see things, that's your truth. But at the end of the day, there's one ultimate truth, right? And what is that? But I think instead of that used to be one thing that used to unify us a lot back in the day in this country. And now it seems like we're going more after our own truth or subjective truth, because it gives us the freedom to do what we want to do,
right.
To live life how we want to live,
I don't know. I think I'm also kind of lost. No.
But I think what I understood was like kind of you saying like the whole idea of having an open mind and friendship and people is to know that it's not one way. Like it's not right. Like your perspective is not.
Growing, I guess.
Yeah, your perspective is not like what you're saying about your tattoo. Like what it means of like being open to like you believe what you believe because of what you've gone through, and I believe what I would believe because of what I've gone through, and being open to the fact that I am allowed to believe different than you, and you don't have to force me to believe. And that's what he was saying, is that before we used to believe like one fundamental truth, but now people are starting to have their own subjective truths of like, well, this is my truth.
Yeah.
Because of it justifies my behavior, my life, my lifestyle, right? In that regards, yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
And it can be good, but at the end, in many cases, it can also divide us, right? It can also make us, if we're not constantly searching for truth, for the ultimate truth,
right?
And we're always stuck with our own truth, then we can kind of be going the path of division eventually.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot, especially I kind of see this happening here, like United States, that happened in Brazil. Like also kind of pretty much like. Was actually like the whole scenario was pretty like kind of like a similar, I could say like that, like in a social like a social perspective, like a political perspective. And we also like we've watched like a really good movie, I think was a Spain movie, remember, like was about social media, and was like a European movie talking about how like people from like India, this the same way kind of like here like they're seeing like with like Latin America, you know, and people from there like coming here was kind of like talking about there was a lot of things going on like in the east, more like you know, and people going through Europe. And a lot of people like being against that, and like and saying like I say, hey, like the government like need to do something, kind of like against these people, like kind of to protect like us because we're from here, like European people, you know.
Yeah.
And they're like, but the movie was the main character like he was a guy working for this agency, like this marketing agency, and his job was pretty much creating faking accounts on Facebook and Instagram, things like that, but like a bunch of that, and groups and all of that, and make that like it looks real, and then like getting real people from that, and making and the
Kind of creating like a lie from social media.
yeah, like and like a
To create more
the whole
division
situation, you
like
know,
making
you
something trend, right?
yeah,
Like
and when
making
you
something
see like you see
go-
like a one guy like doing something, but it's not just him. If you look at the whole country, or like you know, like, and then like in a big like, como você olha para coisa mais de coisa de visão, você
the bigger point of view,
yeah, like big perspective or something
big
like
perspective, yeah, the big picture.
a big picture. That's what I'm trying to say. Like the big picture, you see the whole thing like kind of the same, but like you know, like you go for like from the micro like.
Yeah, you go from seeing this what's happening right here, and then all of a sudden, like you kind of look at the big picture and you see what's really going on behind the curtain. Or
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of like the point I'm trying to make it.
man, well, it's been a really interesting talk. There's definitely a lot of takeaways for me from this conversation. A lot of things that I need to rethink, but I appreciate you guys coming. I appreciate you guys taking the time to be here and talk to us. Bae, I don't know if you got anything else you want to say.
No, I'm really grateful that y'all came out, that y'all are here at my house. Would y'all like to give any advice, anything that our audience could take from y'all?
I think I'll just say something that I've kind of said like before, just like to remember like there's something that like kind of say a lot that like every day we have a sunrise and a sunset, and every day we have people being born and people dying. That just shows like how life changed, and like for us to don't be attached like to things or even to people sometimes, because at some point you're gonna lose like our parents.
Yeah.
In tragic moments, parents they lose their kids, you know, but but we still here sometimes, and sometimes a lot of like bad things happen in our lives, but we still here. So yeah, just like remember like life
So
is
get off
always
the
changing.
screen, enjoy life.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's really good. That's really good. Sorry, we got our little one today. Elias is here with us. But what about you, Keren? Any advice for anybody going into a new relationship, new place, moving into a new place, going through something scary that they don't want to go through or something?
Yeah, I would just
Sensei Keren.
I would just say to give things time to birth into something, and to minimize that desire of instant gratification in every aspect. Sometimes you think instant gratification is just like in one idea, but actually like it's in everything in life. You know, you want something from a relationship fast, like you know, girls want a ring quick, girls want them to, you know, like enjoy the progression of life, the progression of relationships, the progression of your job. Like I think in the end, looking back to 3 years from now, what I have, the friendships I've developed, the people that I've met, the life that I have, my husband, versus when I first walked in, like, or when I first got here, you know, if I would have left even a year ago or whatever, I may have missed out, or I guess longer than that, but I would have missed out on the rest of my life, or, you know, what is waiting for me. So give things time, give relationships time, give friendships time, and you'll see the good result of it if you put in your part.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. That's perfect. I think that's a perfect way to end it, to end this this conversation. And again, we appreciate you guys. Right? What else? We covered everything.
Thank you, Eder. Thank you, Rachel, for having us.
Yeah,
it was
thank
really
you
cool.
guys.
That's awesome.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
guys. Thank you guys. And thank you guys for watching. Next week, of course, we have another conversation. So stay tuned. Follow us if you're not following us. And it's only going to get better. Keep getting better and better.
Bye.
Bye, guys.